Hi everyone, welcome back to the USCPA classes for financial accounting and reporting exam. In this video, we'll be discussing in detail about subsequent event and type of subsequent event. So let's dive into to understand everything about subsequent event and types of subsequent event.
तो वन मोर थिंग मतलब वो टॉपिक थोड़ा दूसरा है। अमोर्टाइजेशन ऑफ सॉफ्टवेयर जहाँ पे आता था उसमें सारी चीज आती थी ना कि जितनी सेल्स होती है उसका एक परसेंटेज लेते हैं या फिर हायर, ऐसा कुछ एक फॉर्मूला था।
Yeah,
एक
there
अलग
are
कॉन्सेप्ट।
there are different, you can say, way of amortization or different method of amortization which is being acceptable method as per GAAP, whether you call it NDS, IFRS or US GAAP. For everyone it is very same, right? So it can be like straight line method of depreciation, or it can be percentage use method depreciation, or it can be double declining depreciation method. So there are 3-4 methods given. So in this case, it is given the percentage use method,
अच्छा,
right? The facts which is given are indicating percentage use method, not straight line method. That is the reason this 70% is a right answer,
ओके ओके। तो
right?
एक सेकंड सर, लेकिन इतना था ना कि आपने, अच्छा परसेंटेज यूज मेथड कैसे आया इसमें?
If you see, sales for 2002 was 30% of the expected sale. So this
हाँ,
is an indication that they have used percentage of sales method.
ओके ओके।
So that you need to identify. If you have been considered straight line method, then you might have gone to 80% answer.
80% एग्जैक्टली।
Right? So these are like tricks which you need to understand, and it will come from experience only when you start doing multiple choice question.
ओके ओके, ठीक है सर। यहाँ पे पीओसीएम लगा, ठीक है।
Mhm. Right? So next topic is subsequent event. So what is subsequent event? Any idea?
After balance sheet date, but before the approval of financial statements.
Yes. So any event that occur after the balance sheet date but before the signing of the financial statement, or before making the financial statement available to the stakeholders, right? Those events are called subsequent event. So in this subsequent event, there are two type of event. One is a reportable event, the second is non-reportable event. Any idea what is reportable event?
So reporting event is basically events which are which provide additional
Evidence.
information about things existing in the balance sheet or financial
on the balance sheet date.
Mhm.
Actions which were already existing on the balance sheet date.
मतलब कोई, let's suppose there is some asset and
जैसे सर
आग लग गई, stocks में आग लग गई, so that would be reporting event.
Mhm.
Loss हो गया, so that would be reported.
Mhm.
Yes, or bankruptcy of a debtor which was due for a long time. उसके case में भी
Yes. Yes.
right.
And what is non-reporting event?
सर फ्रेश इवेंट होगा जिसमें जैसे बैंक्रप्सी ईयर एंड के बाद ही हुई है, आपके पास पता कुछ नहीं था कि उस डेट पे कुछ है, 31st
No.
इसमें
मार्च।
एक एग्जांपल हो सकता है जो मुझे याद है, ऑडिट के टाइम पे पढ़ा था। फॉर एग्जांपल, हम एक प्रोडक्ट लाइन को डिसकंटिन्यू कर रहे हैं नेक्स्ट ईयर ऑनवर्ड्स, बट बैलेंस शीट डेट पे वो एग्जिस्ट करता था वो प्रोडक्ट, वो रेवेन्यू स्ट्रीम। सो उसको हम रिपोर्ट नहीं करेंगे, आई गेस शायद डिस्क्लोजर्स हम डाल सकते हैं, बट बिकॉज
फिर
बैलेंस
कुछ
शीट डेट
ऐसे
पे वो फिर भी रेवेन्यू स्ट्रीम थी, तो वो रिपोर्टेबल नहीं है।
Anything else?
So
सर कोई
just one
ऐसे
thing,
event हो
sir,
गया, like so जो गोइंग कंसर्न पे क्वेश्चन हो गया, could be like नॉन रिपोर्टिंग इवेंट, कि कुछ मार्केट में ऐसे चेंजेस हो गए कि नॉन रिपोर्टिंग नहीं होगा, वो तो रिपोर्टिंग इवेंट होगा। नहीं मतलब बैलेंस शीट डेट पे अच्छा कंडीशंस एग्जिस्ट नहीं करती थी ना, नॉन रिपोर्टिंग इवेंट है तो उसको रिपोर्ट करेंगे।
No, Ayush, that is a reporting event.
वही सर,
If
just one
before
thing.
the signing of financial statement, any such thing happen that may result into impact on the going concern, it is a reportable event. So, like partially you guys were right. The like the base exist before the balance sheet date. For example, like you said, debtors were there in the balance sheet date, but in the, for example, you are doing December year end, December 2022 financial statement, let's say you are preparing, and you have a signing date of, let's say, 28th February 2023, right? So you have, let's say, $1 million of receivable from Mr. X. In January, Mr. X got bankrupt, right? So then will you report those debt as a bad debts or not?
Yes.
Answer is yes, right? So it is a reporting event. What is a reporting event? That means the conditions exist before the balance sheet date, or the base item were existing before the balance sheet date, and in future you got subsequent information that impact the item which are already exist in the balance sheet date. Those are called reporting event, right? Second thing is, for example, in January 31st, you have multi-location company, right? At one location, there is some flood happen. So that flood has happened in the month of January, right? So this condition was not at all exist at the balance sheet date. So those are not reporting event. If you want, you can give the disclosure, but you may not be making any journal entry adjustment. Right? Make sense?
The same goes with the fire. अगर होता है कुछ तो
Fire, flood, any such things. Yes, you're right.
तो वो फायर वाला नॉन रिपोर्टिंग इवेंट हो जाएगा.
Yes, if it happen after 31st December, because the condition was not existing before the balance sheet date.
बट स्टॉक तो थे, हम स्टॉक को बैलेंस शीट में दिखा रहे हैं क्लोजिंग स्टॉक में, बट हमें पता है साइन होने से पहले बैलेंस शीट की सॉरी हाँ साइन होने से पहले कि वो स्टॉक अब है ही नहीं, डिस्ट्रॉय हो गया, लॉस बाय फायर हो गया.
Yeah, that you need to give in the notes to accounts.
मतलब डिस्क्लोजर जाएगा बट जर्नल
एंट्री. Yes.
तो रिपोर्टिंग जो हम बात कर रहे हैं वो उस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में कर रहे हैं कि हम लोग एंट्री बुक करेंगे नहीं करेंगे.
Yes, yes.
Sure, I 100% agree with Akash, but सर एक चीज है ना, आपने भी काफी फेमस एग्जांपल है सीए फाइनल पे भी या कहीं पे भी आपने देखा होगा. सपोज सर एनआरवी इन्वेंट्री की एनआरवी एडजस्टमेंट आप करते हो ईयर एंड पे, ठीक है, 100 रुपए की कॉस्ट थी, 92 की एनआरवी थी. अब कंटिन्यूइंग विद व्हाट आकाश सेड कि वो स्टॉक बाद में डिस्ट्रॉय हो गया, ठीक है सर. मान लीजिए 20% डिस्ट्रक्शन हुआ, उसकी एनआरवी अब आके 72 हो गई, ठीक है. अब तो सर एडजस्टमेंट करना पड़ेगा ना. तो मतलब दोनों केस हो सकते हैं, जो आकाश बोल रहा है वो भी हो सकता है. कई बार एडजस्टमेंट होगा भी सही और कभी कभी नहीं भी होगा, इन्वेंट्री के केस में पर्टिकुलर.
Yeah, inventory के केस में you need to be critically evaluate. You are right.
Exactly.
But you know, like for example, if it is being covered by the insurance, then probably you are not required to make an adjustment.
हाँ जी, ये कह सकते हैं, ये कह सकते हैं. वो सिर्फ डिस्क्लोजर जाएगा और कुछ नहीं.
Then it goes to disclosure point of it, right? So there are two type of subsequent events. So let's understand one by one in detail. Any transaction and event that is occur after the balance sheet date but before the financial statement issue. So what is financial statement issue? In our example, 28th of February, when we are signing of the financial statement, or available to be issued are considered on the subsequent date. Available to issue, that means those are being signed by the auditors as well as board of directors or management, right? And these are available to the shareholder or available to the Security Exchange Commissions, right? So that date in between this period is called subsequent event period. So type of subsequent event, first type consists of the event or transaction that provide additional evidence about the conditions that exist at the date of balance sheet, including estimate inherent in the process of preparation of the financial statement, that is recognized subsequent event. These are called reporting event. Second category is the event that provide evidence about the condition that did not exist at the date of balance sheet but arose after the balance sheet date, that are not recognized as a subsequent event, but disclosures are required if those things are material, right? If those things are not material to the financial statement, then disclosure is also not required. Financial statements are considered issue when they are widely distributed to the shareholder or other financial statement user for general use and reliance in the form of or the format of compliance of US GAAP, like your 10K, 10Qs, right? Financial statements are considered available to issue when they are complete in the form of the format compiled by the compiles with the gap, and all the approval necessary for the issuance have been obtained. That means from the management, which is like board of director or the significant shareholder and the auditor. An entity that has current expectation of widely distributing its financial statement to its shareholder and other financial statement user must evaluate the subsequent event through the date that the financial statement are issued. All other entity must evaluate the subsequent event up to the date that the financial statement are available to be issued. So here are two things. One is listed company. Second is non-listed company. For the listed company, you need to make sure till the time the financial statement are available to the stakeholder, right? Till that time, you need to look at subsequent event. But for non-listed company, the day you have signed and the management has signed. So there may be possibility that there may be a 1 or 2 day lag from the signing of financial statement to uploading to the Security Exchange Commission to make it available for the general public, for the listed company. That is the reason for listed company, they have more extended details. Make sense? For example, on 27th of February, like the example which we are saying, there are December 2022 financial statement and audit committee meeting and the board of director meeting is on 27th of February. And audit committee and board of director have signed and stamped everything, the financial statement, and this financial statement has been uploaded to the Security Exchange Commission for the general public on 28th of February. Then the subsequent event you need to be considered till 28th of February, not 27th of February. But if it is a private company, non-listed company, then the date when management and auditor is signed, which is 27th of February, till that date you will be considering the subsequent event. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So public entity is any entity that meet any of the following condition. First is, it's like, what is public entity basically here, that is explains, right? This you all know, like quickly I'll reiterate. Any company whose debt or equity are being traded in the public market or they are listed in the security exchange, right? Second is any company whose bonds or debt security are being traded or available in the public market or in the security exchange. Third one is, one second, just give me 1 second, I think. सॉरी यार, वो बोर्ड का डिलीवरी आना ऑफिस में, so he was called.
No problem.
Yeah. So coming back here, the public entity again, like securities listed है, debt listed है, bonds listed है, और SEC filing requirement है, या कोई if any company is going for a IPO, or if there is required to furnish financial statement with the SEC, maybe unki maybe their parent company are already listed, right? So then they need to follow the rule of second rule, which is available to the shareholder rules, right? Any other case, they can follow the signing date rule, right? An entity must recognize in the financial statement the effect of subsequent event that provide additional evidence about the condition that exists at the date of balance sheet, including estimate inherited in the process of preparation of financial statement. There are a few examples of the subsequent event. First one is, if the event that give rise to any litigation had taken place before the balance sheet date and litigation is settled after the balance sheet date, but before the financial statement is issued. For example, like any customer has, you can say, file a case against the company before the balance sheet date, and after the balance sheet date but before the signing date, that customer case has been settled and you have to pay, let's assume, $100,000 to the customer, right? In that case of scenario, once the amount is confirmed, so you need to recognize that amount as a payable on the balance sheet date. Make sense? Because the condition exists before the balance sheet date, so this is a reportable event. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So,
Subsequent event, sorry. Yeah, you are saying something, Gurmeer? Okay, so
No,
litigation is settled after the balance sheet date, but before the financial statement are issued, are available to be issued for an amount from the liability recorded in the accounts. Then settlement amount should be considered as estimate the amount of liability recognized in the financial statement, right? Second is subsequent event affecting the realization of asset, such as your receivable, your inventory, which we were discussing, and settlement of the estimate liability should be recognized in the financial statement when those events represent the accumulation of condition that exist over the relatively long period of time. For example, loss of uncollectible trade receivable, which we were discussing. If any customer is got bankrupt, now you are not in a position to collect the money from that, and that receivable were due on the balance sheet date, right? Then you need to recognize the respective provision for doubtful debt or bad debts, right? Does it affect the customer bankruptcy and filing the consideration and determining the amount of uncollectible account receivable recognized in the financial statement, right? Next is, an entity must not recognize the subsequent event that provide evidence about the condition that did not exist. Like we were discussing, any flood, any hurricanes, right? Any such issue arises after the balance sheet date, but those conditions were not exist at the balance sheet date. So for Gurmeher, you have shared one example that if any company is planning to discontinue the operation after the balance sheet date, right? So here the operation will exist at the balance sheet date. If the company has decided to discontinue that operation after the balance sheet date but before the signing of date, then that event is considered as a recognizing event. So you need to consider the loss for those assets which you are planning to you can say discontinuing the operation. An entity must not recognize the subsequent event that provide evidence about the condition that did not exist at the balance sheet date but arose after the balance sheet date but before the financial statement are issued or available to the issue. For example, sale of bond. That means on January you have issued additional equity share, right? So that additional equity share was not exist at the balance sheet date. So hence you are not recognizing anything at the balance sheet date because it's a fresh development, right? Any business combination, that is merger or acquisition, is happening in the month of January, right? So those you can give the disclosure that, like in the subsequent event disclosure, that company is going for a merger or acquisition, and that may be the high level impact of it, but you might not be recording any journal entry for the same, right? Any settlement of litigation when the event given rise to claim took place after the balance sheet date. For example, in the month of January, someone has claimed you and the settlement has happened in the month of February before the filing of the date, right? So those litigations you are not required to adjust in the balance sheet because that litigation was not exist before the balance sheet date. Make sense? Losses of plant or inventory as a result of natural disaster that occurred after the balance sheet date but before the financial statement are issued are available to be issued. Losses of receivable resulting from condition such as customer major casualty arising after the balance sheet date but before the financial statement issued or are available to issue, then those are also not considered as reportable event. Change in the fair value of the asset or liability or foreign exchange rate after the balance sheet date but before the financial statement are issued are available to be issued, right? And then next one is entering into significant commitment or contingent liability after the balance sheet date but before the issuing date. So that's a new condition, hence it is not required to be recognized, as the entity must disclose the date through which subsequent event have been evaluated as well as whether that date is the date of the financial statement were issued or the date in the financial statement were available to issue. So this is also required to be disclosed, right? From which date to which date you are considering or evaluating the subsequent event, that also disclosure required in the financial statement. Next is some non-recognized subsequent event may be such a nature that they must be disclosed to keep the financial statement from being misleading. So like I said, there are certain material transaction which has taken place subsequent to the balance sheet date. Hence, you are not required to make an adjustment in the financial statement, but it is good to disclose so that the user of the financial statements are being not feel misled, right? So such event, for example, the nature what disclosure we need to make is the nature of the event and the estimate impact on the prospective financial statement of those events. So for example, like we were discussing, discontinuing of an operation of any particular line item, right? So you need to disclose how much is the asset base, how much, what was the nature of that operation, why you are disclosing those, and what will be the impact of that in the financial statement. So those disclosure are required, even though those are non-disclosing event. But if it has material or significant impact for the user of the financial statement, then you need to disclose that, right? An entity shall consider supplementing the historical financial statement with the pro forma financial data, and then under certain circumstances an entity may have to reissue the financial statement if those changes are very much material, right? Let's do two quick questions and then we are almost done for it. Are you guys here?
Yes, sir.
Ayush? Okay. Gurmeher Singh Bagga, are you here?
Yes, sir, अभी तक तो हूँ.
Okay, just two more questions, then we are done for the day. Subsequent event take place after the formal balance sheet date or after the balance sheet is issued. When subsequent event take place? After the balance
After
sheet
the
date
formal
or
balance sheet
after
date.
the issue date?
After the balance sheet date.
After the balance sheet date, right? Not after the issue date. So hence fourth option is correct, right? Next question is, which of the following subsequent event must be recognized in the financial statement? First is change in the fair value of asset and liability of foreign exchange rate after the balance sheet date, but before financial statement are issued or are available for issue. So foreign exchange rate, when you are preparing your financial statement, right, and you have a subsidiary in foreign country, right, and now you are doing consolidation. So in the consolidation, when you are consolidating foreign subsidiary, right, so their assets and liability you calculate at which date of exchange rate? Any idea?
Closing date.
Closing date of balance sheet, right?
Yes, sir.
And then income statement is on average rate of the year. But do you calculate the future rates? The answer is no.
No, sir. Why would we
Right?
adjust?
So hence this first point is incorrect. If you just read this point again, what it's saying, change in fair value of assets and liability of foreign exchange rate after the balance sheet date. Right? So we do not use after the balance sheet date rate. We use for assets and liability on the balance sheet date and for P&L item during the year.
Average rate.
Right? So hence this point is incorrect. Makes sense?
Yes.
Second is settlement of litigation when the event giving rise to the claim took place after the balance sheet date. That means
तो बैलेंस शीट डेट के बाद ही हुआ है
balance like so the existence was after the balance sheet date, hence you are not considered for subsequent event. Third is sale of bond capital stock issued after the balance sheet date, right? If you are issuing, right, so that is also not considered as subsequent event. Fourth is loss on an uncollectible trade receivable. This result in of a customer's deteriorating financial condition leading to bankruptcy after the balance sheet date, but before the financial statement are issued or are available to issue.
Deteriorating है मतलब balance sheet date पे event था वो.
Yes, right. Hence the fourth point will be considered for subsequent event.
Exactly.
Right. Any doubt on subsequent event?
एक चीज पूछनी थी सर, ये डाउट मतलब क्योंकि ये उससे अलग है, इंड AS 10 से आपको पता है, तो सर एक बार थोड़ा ऊपर करिए ना इस मतलब डॉक्यूमेंट को, स्क्रॉल अप. और सर इसके बारे में इफ यू कैन, आई मीन द लास्ट पैरा, रीइश्यूड एंड रिवाइज्ड फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स.
This one?
Exactly, sir.
So under certain circumstances, an entity may have reissued the financial statement after the original issuance of the financial statement. Events or transaction may have occurred after the required disclosure in the reissued financial statement to keep them from being misleading. An entity must not recognize the event. An entity must not recognize the event occurring between the time the financial statement were issued or available to be issued and the time of the financial statement were reissued unless the adjustment is required by the GAAP or regulatory requirement. Similarly, an entity shall not recognize the event or transaction occur after the financial statement were issued or were available to the issue to the financial statement that are later reissued in comparative form of along with the financial statement of the subsequent period unless the adjustment meet the criteria stated in this paragraph. An entity must disclose the data through which subsequent event have been evaluated in both original issued financial statement and reissued financial statement. Here, this is exception to the general rule. So for example, like you have audited XYZ company financial statement January to December 2022, right?
Exactly.
And on 27th of February 2023, you have signed the financial statement.
Okay.
Right? And now you have been appointed to do the audit of financial year 2023. Right? Let's assume in the month of June, when you are doing interim audit, and you have found certain error, or you can say certain issues which are material to the financial statement of previous year, which were exist at the time of balance sheet.
Exactly.
But,
उस दिन exist कर रहा था.
but during the audit, you have missed it or you have not noticed it. But now when you are doing a subsequent period audit and it comes to your attention, so as an auditor, can we skip that because you have already signed? The answer is no.
No.
It's your professional responsibility. If any issues come into your attention, come into your notice, you have to take appropriate action.
Okay.
Right? In that case of scenario, what you will do as an auditor? first thing is you will be discussing this with the management that we would require update in the previous year financial statement.
Exactly.
Right? If management agree, then you will request management to share with all the stakeholders that there is an error which we are updating, and these are the updated financial statement.
Okay.
So in that case of scenario, so subsequent event you need to test till June, because you are re-signing the financial statement. So you are assuming the responsibility till June. Right?
Okay, so just a second. सर इसमें लेकिन ये जो पैराग्राफ है, जो सेकंड लास्ट पैराग्राफ है, ठीक है, उसमें सब बोला गया है, एन एंटिटी मस्ट नॉट रिकॉग्नाइज इवेंट्स occurring between the time the financial statements were issued or available to be issued. जैसे अपने केस में था February 23, ठीक है, उसके बाद आप जून तक गए, तो सर अगर मैं जून तक के इवेंट्स ले लूंगा, 27 फरवरी से आप लेके जून तक अगर आप खड़े हो वहां के इवेंट्स में ले लूंगा, तो ये तो कंसिडरेशन हो गई ना?
नहीं, यहाँ
इसमें तो
पे
लिखा है
नो रीड फुल स्टेटमेंट.
अच्छा, अनलेस द एडजस्टमेंट इज रिक्वायर्ड बाय गैप. ओके, क्योंकि यहाँ पे ऑडिटर को रिपोर्ट करना रिक्वायर्ड था. मतलब सर अल्टीमेटली बात हुई यहाँ पे, जैसे इंडियन कंपनीज एक्ट में आप एक सेक्शन पढ़ते हैं, सेक्शन 131 नए कंपनी, वो ये बोलता है कि रिवाइज फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स आपको इशू कराने पड़ेंगे अगर मान लीजिए कोई फ्रॉड हुआ है या कोई आपको मतलब गलत
मटेरियल स्टेटमेंट
चले गए थे. एग्जैक्टली, मटेरियल स्टेटमेंट था, तो आपको करवाना पड़ेगा. वैसे ही वहां के यूएस के कॉर्पोरेट लॉ में भी एक एक्ट होगा या गैप में लिखा होगा, जैसे ऑडिटर
इट इज इन गैप.
आपने बताई. अच्छा, ओके. तो सर इसमें दो तरीके भी तो हो सकते थे, मतलब इसमें दो चीजें जाएंगी. एक तो पुराने साल के फाइनेंशियल्स जो चले गए थे वो तो रिवाइज होंगे ही होंगे, मेरे जो इस साल के कंपैरेटिव्स होंगे उसमें भी करेक्टेड फिगर्स आएंगे ना. एरर करेक्शन तो चलेगा ही चलेगा.
यस, वेरी ट्रू.
ओके 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 ओके. मतलब वैसे नहीं कंसिडर करना. अगर मान लीजिए सर इस केस में मटेरियल मिसस्टेटमेंट नहीं होती, ठीक है, और गैप और रेगुलेटरी रिक्वायरमेंट भी कुछ नहीं होती, बहुत चिल्ला सा एरर होता, तब तो कुछ नहीं करना. तो फिर मतलब डेट ऑफ इवैल्यूएशन जो होती, एग्जैक्टली डेट ऑफ
if things are
इवैल्यूएशन
not material, then you are not required to take any action.
ओके, तो फिर जून तक का देखना ही नहीं है, सिर्फ 27 फरवरी पे आके आपका खत्म हो गया इवैल्यूएशन पीरियड, है ना?
यस, वेरी ट्रू.
अच्छा अच्छा, ओके. और एंटिटी मस्ट डिस्क्लोज द डेट. अच्छा, अगर आपने लास्ट लाइन जो है, एंटिटी मस्ट डिस्क्लोज द डेट, अगर आपने जून तक की रखी है, फेब तक की रखी है, दोनों आपको बतानी पड़ेंगी.
So there are two type of reporting, like which we'll study in audit. There are two type of reporting. One, when you are assuming the responsibility of all subsequent event. Second, when you are not assuming the responsibility of all subsequent event, only this particular event. So then there are two reports. If you are assuming the responsibility, then it will be one report with the all subsequent event testing. If you are not assuming the responsibility, then you are issuing new report which is attachment to the original report, only to the specific topic. Both are permissible as per GAS.
अच्छा सर, जैसे अगर आप अज्यूम कर रहे हो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, तो आप 27 मतलब कहाँ तक लोगे? 27 फेब तक लोगे कि 27 जून तक लोगे?
No, till for example 30th June. So then like from 1st January to 30th June, all the subsequent event you have to test if you are assuming the responsibility.
अच्छा, अगर नहीं अज्यूम कर रहे हो तो बचे हुए पीरियड की सिर्फ एक सप्लीमेंट्री डाल के अलग कर देंगे.
Yes, very true.
ओके ओके. ये टॉपिक ऑडिट में भी आएगा, सेम है सर, है ना?
This is like actually an audit topic. Yeah, this is actually an audit topic.
ओके.
पर सर अगर सब्सिक्वेंट इवेंट जिसमें हम बात कर रहे हैं इशू होने के बाद, अगर वो मटेरियल हमने आइडेंटिफाई किया और मटेरियल नहीं है, तो ऐसा भी हो सकता है ना कि अगर हम
if it is not material, don't waste time.
हाँ, तो एक और केस भी हो सकता है कि क्या पता हम फाइनेंशियल से रीइशू ना कराएं, हम सिर्फ ओपनिंग रिटेन अर्निंग्स को एडजस्ट कर दें.
No, if it is not material, you are not required to make any adjustment.
तो रीइशू भी नहीं कराएंगे?
Nothing. Just ignore. There's so many things in life which are material. If you, as an auditor, if you look for all immaterial things, then you won't be able to finish audit ever in your life. Right. Good. Right. Okay. So we have covered all these 4 topics of today. Right. So I'll send this notes to you. You can take a look. And then maybe in next class tomorrow we'll be covering the topics which is this accounting for change in price, general level price change, current value of accounting, supplementary and disclosure. So then we are done with this chapter.
ये ऑडिट में इंडेस में नहीं है ना ये चेंज इन प्राइस वाला?
ये सर इन्फ्लेशन रिकग्नाइज नहीं होती है, इंडेक्स में तो नहीं होती।
Yes.
आईआरएस भी बड़ा था उसमें भी नहीं है। ठीक है
ठीक है, चलो let's catch up tomorrow 10 o'clock.
ठीक है सर, डन।
Okay, enjoy.
Just one thing.
Yes, please.
सर ये मैंने मतलब गरिमा